The moment I stepped through the front door, an unsettling silence enveloped me. It was supposed to be a routine homecoming after a week-long business trip, the kind where your family greets you with warm hugs and stories of their week. Instead, I was met with an eerie stillness that seemed to press against my chest. The house, usually filled with the comforting aroma of Rachel's cooking or the faint scent of Lily's crayons, smelled stale and neglected. My luggage felt heavier in my hand as I stood there, taking in the scene that immediately struck me as wrong. The hallway lights were dimmed, casting long shadows across the familiar space. To my left, the kitchen revealed itself as a disaster zone, dirty dishes piled high in the sink, dried juice stains on the floor, and an overflowing trash can emitting a sour smell. This wasn't just unusual. It was completely out of character for Rachel, who prided herself on maintaining an immaculate home. My eyes darted to the fridge, where our family calendar usually hung, meticulously updated with Lily's school activities and family appointments. The last entry was dated 2 weeks ago, the day I had left for my trip. A chill ran down my spine as I noticed Lily's tiny pink shoes discarded haphazardly near the doorway. Rachel would never have allowed such disorder, especially not with our 6-year-old daughter's belongings. The unease that had been building since I first opened the door crystallized into something more tangible, more alarming. I called out for Rachel, my voice echoing through the empty house, but received no response. The only sound was the house settling, its creaks and groans amplified in the unnatural quiet. My pulse quickened as I ascended the stairs 2 at a time, each step bringing me closer to answers I wasn't sure I wanted. The second floor felt even more abandoned than downstairs, the air thick with unanswered questions. When I reached Lily's room and pushed open the door, my heart nearly stopped. There she was, my little girl, sitting cross-legged on her bed, completely absorbed in a tablet. She looked up at me with wide eyes, her face lighting up with recognition before she scrambled off the bed and ran into my arms. As I held her close, relief flooding through me, the reality of the situation began to sink in. Lily was safe, but something was terribly wrong. Where was Rachel? Why had she left our child alone? The question swirled in my mind as I pulled back slightly, searching my daughter's face for answers. "Where's Mommy, sweetheart?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the growing dread in my chest. Her innocent reply, that Rachel had gone on a trip with her, sent a cold spike of confusion through me. Something was very wrong, and I needed answers. My hands trembled as I dialed Rachel's number, each ring amplifying the surreal nature of the situation. When she finally answered, her voice carried that same casual indifference she always used when busy, except this time, it felt like a performance. "Rachel, where are you?" I demanded, struggling to keep my voice steady. Her response hit me like a physical blow. "I'm on a business trip, David. Lily's right here with me." The words echoed in my ears as I stared at our daughter, safely nestled in my arms. The world seemed to tilt beneath me as I processed her statement. "Rachel," I said, barely able to force the words out, "Lily is right here with me." The line went silent, heavy with implications I couldn't yet comprehend. Then, a nervous chuckle that sent chills down my spine. "That's not possible." My blood ran cold as realization dawned. Rachel wasn't confused. She was lying. "Rachel," I growled, my voice dropping to a dangerous register. "Who exactly do you think is with you?" The call disconnected abruptly, leaving me staring at my phone in stunned disbelief. My mind raced through possibilities, each more disturbing than the last. I redialed immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. Text messages followed, demanding answers, but received no response. As I sat beside Lily, watching her play obliviously with her tablet, the pieces began falling into place with terrifying clarity. Rachel hadn't just left our daughter alone. She had gone somewhere believing she had taken Lily with her. Panic threatened to overwhelm me as I accessed our joint bank account. The transactions told a story far removed from any business trip. Luxury resort charges, restaurant bills, spa treatments. All for 2 people. My suspicions focused on Mark, Rachel's co-worker, whose name had occasionally surfaced in tense conversations over the past few months. Each denial she had given then now seemed like practice for this moment. I powered up my laptop, accessing our home security system footage. The cameras had been deliberately disabled 6 days ago, not accidentally, but with purposeful intent. Whoever Rachel had taken with her, she had wanted to ensure I wouldn't see them leave. The confirmation of her deliberate actions sent a wave of nausea through me. This wasn't just an affair. It was something far more calculated, far more disturbing. As I watched Lily sleep that night, curled up in her bed with her stuffed bear, I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't safe. The real question gnawing at me wasn't just about Rachel's betrayal. It was about who, or what, she had taken with her. And if that wasn't our daughter, then where had the real Lily come from? The next morning, I approached the situation with methodical precision, forcing myself to compartmentalize the emotional turmoil threatening to overwhelm me. My first step was to systematically review every piece of evidence I could gather. I started with Lily's school records, confirming that our daughter had indeed been attending classes regularly. The attendance logs showed no discrepancies. Our Lily had been present every day, including the one Rachel claimed to have picked her up from school. Accessing Rachel's work email through our shared family account revealed a carefully constructed web of lies. Her emails to mark detailed plans for their getaway, including specific instructions about how they would handle the child. The casual way they discussed bringing someone along chilled me to the bone. More disturbing were the references to how she looks exactly like Lily and comments about how easy it had been to convince others of her identity. Security footage from Lily's school presented the most damning evidence. Grainy camera angles showed Rachel approaching the school gates, but instead of our daughter, she walked away with another child who bore an uncanny resemblance to Lily. The mannerisms, the backpack, even the favorite stuffed bunny, everything matched perfectly. Yet subtle differences emerged upon closer inspection. The way this child moved too smoothly, how her eyes didn't blink naturally, and how she seemed to anticipate Rachel's every move before it happened. Phone records painted an even more complex picture. Multiple calls between Rachel and Mark showed patterns that aligned with their movements away from the resort. However, there were also strange gaps in communication, periods where both their phones appeared to be completely inactive despite being in areas with strong coverage. These blackouts coincided with times when Lily reported hearing someone laughing in the house. The next morning, I approached the situation with methodical precision, forcing myself to compartmentalize the emotional turmoil threatening to overwhelm me. My first step was to systematically review every piece of evidence I could gather. I started with Lily's school records, confirming that our daughter had indeed been attending classes regularly. The attendance log showed no discrepancies. Our Lily had been present every day, including the one Rachel claimed to have picked her up from school. Accessing Rachel's work email through our shared family account revealed a carefully constructed web of lies. Her emails to mark detailed plans for their getaway, including specific instructions about how they would handle the child. The casual way they discussed bringing someone along chilled me to the bone. More disturbing were the references to how she looks exactly like Lily and comments about how easy it had been to convince others of her identity. Security footage from Lily's school presented the most damning evidence. Grainy camera angles showed Rachel approaching the school gates, but instead of our daughter, she walked away with another child who bore an uncanny resemblance to Lily. The mannerisms, the backpack, even the favorite stuffed bunny, everything matched perfectly. Yet subtle differences emerged upon closer inspection. The way this child moved too smoothly, how her eyes didn't blink naturally, and how she seemed to anticipate Rachel's every move before it happened. Phone records painted an even more complex picture. Multiple calls between Rachel and Mark showed patterns that aligned with their movements away from the resort. However, there were also strange gaps in communication, periods where both their phones appeared to be completely inactive despite being in areas with strong coverage. These blackouts coincided with times when Lily reported hearing someone laughing in the house. The most unsettling discovery came from reviewing old family photos on my computer. Side-by-side comparisons revealed minute differences in Lily's appearance over the past few weeks. Changes so subtle they would escape notice unless specifically sought. The angle of her smile, the placement of a small birthmark behind her ear, even the way her hair naturally parted had shifted imperceptibly. These weren't normal variations. They were markers of something far more sinister. Each revelation added another layer of complexity to the mystery. Rachel hadn't just embarked on an affair. She had willingly participated in something that defied rational explanation. The evidence pointed to a calculated deception involving a perfect replica of our daughter, one that had fooled not just Rachel but potentially everyone around her. The implications were staggering. If this thing could mimic Lily so convincingly, what else was it capable of? And more importantly, where was our real daughter? The phone rang again, and this time I answered immediately, putting it on speaker as I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Rachel's voice came through, but it was different now. Trembling, panicked. "David, I think it's here," she whispered, her breath coming in shallow gasps. My entire body went rigid as I processed her words. "What do you mean it?" I demanded, my voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "It's Mark," she stammered. "He's acting strange, too quiet, won't look at me. Last night, he was standing at the foot of the bed just staring." Her voice trailed off, but the implication hung heavy in the air. "And when I asked him what he was doing," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper, he said, "Where is the real me?" The temperature in the car seemed to drop 10 degrees as her words sank in. I forced myself to stay calm, though my knuckles were white against the wheel. "Rachel, listen carefully. Pack your things and get out of there now." Her response came quickly, bordering on hysteria. "I can't. He won't let me leave. Every time I try, he just smiles, this awful, knowing smile, like he's waiting for something." A chill ran down my spine as I processed her words. This wasn't just about an affair anymore. We were dealing with something far beyond human comprehension. Before I could respond, the background noise changed. A low, raspy voice came through the line. "Mommy, don't leave me again." The words hit me like a freight train. Rachel's sharp intake of breath confirmed what I already knew. That voice didn't belong to any human child. The line went dead, leaving me gripping the wheel, so tightly my fingers went numb. I glanced in the rearview mirror at Lily, still sleeping peacefully in the back seat, and felt the weight of my impossible decision pressing down on me. Every instinct screamed at me to turn the car around, to race back to the resort and save Rachel. But logic intervened. I couldn't risk both my daughters. If whatever had replaced Lily was truly hunting us, then splitting up was our only chance. I made the hardest decision of my life. I kept driving, pushing the speedometer higher as I headed toward the isolated cabin deep in the woods. My mind raced with terrible possibilities. What if Rachel had brought something into our lives that could never be contained? What if it had already found its way back to us? The confrontation wasn't just with Rachel or her lover. It was with the fundamental nature of reality itself. The thing pretending to be Lily, or perhaps the thing pretending to be Mark, had demonstrated abilities that defied explanation. They could mimic humans perfectly, infiltrate our lives without detection, and apparently switch places with our loved ones without anyone noticing. The implications were terrifying. How many others might be replacements? How long had this been happening? As the miles stretched behind me, I realized the true horror of our situation. This wasn't a simple case of infidelity or even kidnapping. It was an invasion. Whatever these entities were, they weren't just content to take Rachel's place in her affair. They were actively seeking to replace members of our family. The question burning in my mind was why? What did they want with us? And more importantly, how could we possibly fight against creatures that could become anyone, appear anywhere, and manipulate our reality with such ease? The dirt road leading to the cabin seemed endless, each mile stretching longer than the last as darkness pressed in from all sides. My headlights cut through the oppressive gloom, illuminating skeletal trees that seemed to reach out like accusing fingers. Every bump in the road sent shockwaves through my already frayed nerves, while Lily stirred restlessly in the back seat, muttering in her sleep. I gripped the wheel tighter, trying to focus on the immediate task of reaching safety rather than the nightmare unfolding behind us. When we finally arrived at the cabin, I killed the engine and sat in silence for several minutes, listening to the forest's nocturnal symphony. The isolation that had once seemed comforting now felt suffocating, every rustle of leaves or distant animal call raising my hackles. I methodically checked every window and door, securing the ancient locks before powering up the generator. The sudden hum of electricity felt almost sacrilegious in the otherwise silent wilderness. But the thought of being plunged into darkness was unbearable. Inside, I set Lily up in the main bedroom, surrounding her with familiar objects from home, her favorite blanket, stuffed animals, anything that might provide comfort in this alien environment. As she drifted back to sleep, I established a perimeter using furniture and whatever heavy objects I could find. The cabin's single phone line was dead, likely severed by time and weather, leaving us truly cut off from the outside world. I powered up my laptop, grateful for the satellite internet connection I'd installed years ago during hunting trips, and began researching everything I could about similar occurrences. Hours turned into days as we settled into an uneasy routine. During daylight hours, I ventured outside to gather firewood and check the perimeter, always carrying my phone and keeping one eye on the tree line. At night, I maintained a vigil, alternating between watching Lily sleep and monitoring the security cameras I hastily installed around the property. The isolation became both our prison and our sanctuary. While it protected us from immediate danger, it also trapped us with our fears and unanswered questions. Food supplies dwindled alarmingly fast, forcing me to make dangerous supply runs into the nearest town. Each trip was a calculated risk, requiring careful planning and execution. I would wait until midday, when the roads were busiest, and stick to main thoroughfares, constantly scanning for anything unusual. The townspeople noticed my sudden reappearance after years of absence, but I deflected their curiosity with vague explanations about needing solitude. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was hiding in plain sight while being hunted by creatures that could blend seamlessly into human society. Communication with Rachel remained sporadic and increasingly disturbing. Her messages came at odd hours, often disjointed and paranoid. She claimed to be moving constantly, staying in cheap motels and avoiding populated areas. It was always watching, she said, sometimes appearing as Mark, sometimes as Lily, and other times as strangers who seemed to know intimate details about our lives. Her descriptions grew more frantic, detailing encounters where multiple duplicates appeared simultaneously, each claiming to be the real person. The psychological toll mounted daily. Sleep became impossible without medication, and even then, nightmares plagued me. I developed rituals to confirm Lily's identity, asking her specific questions only she would know, checking for minute physical details that might reveal imposters. Paranoia became my constant companion, whispering doubts about every interaction, every movement in the corner of my vision. The line between protection and obsession blurred until I could no longer tell where one ended and the other began. Despite these precautions, incidents occurred that tested my resolve. One night, I woke to find Lily standing at the window, staring out into the darkness. When I called her name, she turned slowly, her expression eerily blank before breaking into her familiar smile. Another time, while gathering firewood, I encountered a deer in the clearing, except its eyes reflected light like headlights, and it spoke in Rachel's voice before vanishing into thin air. These encounters chipped away at my sanity, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about reality. The final confrontation came on a moonless night, 3 weeks after our arrival at the cabin. I had been monitoring security feeds when motion detectors triggered alarms around the perimeter. On the monitors, I watched as multiple figures emerged from the woods, each bearing an uncanny resemblance to someone from our lives: Rachel, Mark, various neighbors, even versions of myself. Their movements were synchronized, almost choreographed, as they approached the cabin from all directions. Realizing stealth was no longer an option, I activated the emergency protocols I had prepared. Floodlights illuminated the clearing, revealing the full extent of the threat. Dozens of duplicates stood frozen in the sudden brightness, their faces twisted into grotesque parodies of human expressions. From the bedroom, Lily whimpered in fear, but I couldn't afford to comfort her. Not yet. Grabbing the modified signal jammer I had been working on, I stepped onto the porch, positioning myself between the creatures and my daughter. "Leave us alone," I shouted, activating the device. The air crackled with energy as the jammer emitted a high-frequency pulse. Several duplicates collapsed instantly, their forms dissolving into dark mist. Others staggered backward, their features flickering between different identities. But instead of retreating, they began communicating telepathically, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of sound that vibrated through my skull. "You cannot protect her forever," they intoned in unison. "She belongs with us. She is part of our cycle." The words triggered a memory, Rachel's earlier message about the cycle they had mentioned. Suddenly, pieces clicked into place. These entities weren't just random invaders. They were part of some cosmic process, harvesting human consciousness for purposes beyond comprehension. Lily wasn't just a target. She was special somehow, chosen for reasons I still didn't fully understand. Summoning every ounce of courage, I addressed the horde directly. "You took my wife. You tried to take my daughter. Now you'll answer for what you've done." Activating the jammer's secondary function, I broadcast a recording of Lily's genuine laughter, the pure, unfiltered joy captured during her 6th birthday party. The effect was immediate and devastating. The duplicates began convulsing, their forms destabilizing as the authentic human emotion disrupted their cohesion. One by one, they dissolved into nothingness, their collective scream fading into silence. Only one figure remained, a version of Rachel that looked more worn, more human than the others. She stepped forward hesitantly, her eyes filled with genuine tears. "David," she whispered, "it's really me. I fought my way back to you." Despite everything, I recognized the truth in her words. The jammer's readings confirmed her humanity. She was the real Rachel, damaged but intact. Together, we returned to the cabin, where Lily waited anxiously. The reunion was bittersweet, tempered by the knowledge of what we had endured and lost. Over the following days, Rachel explained how she had managed to maintain her identity while trapped among the duplicates. Her experiences had changed her fundamentally, replacing the woman who had betrayed our family with someone stronger, more resilient, and deeply remorseful. We decided to leave the cabin, knowing we could never return to our previous lives. The authorities would find only an abandoned property when they investigated the reports of strange lights and noises. Instead, we disappeared into witness protection, starting anew under new identities. The experience had shattered our old existence, but forged something stronger in its place. A family united not by blood alone, but by shared survival and understanding. In our new life, we maintained strict protocols for verifying identity, developed through painful experience. Trust became something earned daily, through consistent actions rather than assumed connections. While the threat of the duplicates remained theoretical, we lived each day with purpose, cherishing moments of genuine human connection that had become infinitely more precious. Our scars remained, visible in Rachel's occasional tremors, in Lily's tendency to cling to familiar objects, in my own hypervigilance. But they served as reminders of our resilience rather than weakness. 3 years have passed since that fateful night at the cabin, and while the passage of time has dulled the sharpest edges of our trauma, the experience continues to shape every aspect of our lives. We've settled into a quiet coastal community, far from our previous life, but close enough to civilization to maintain a sense of normalcy. The ocean's constant rhythm provides a soothing backdrop to our healing process, its predictable tides offering a stark contrast to the chaos we survived. Rachel's transformation has been remarkable, yet painful to witness. The vibrant social butterfly I once knew has evolved into a more introspective woman, her former confidence replaced by a cautious optimism. She volunteers at local shelters, finding solace in helping others while working through her own guilt. The affair that initially fractured our family seems almost trivial compared to what followed, yet its shadow still lingers in our interactions. Trust between us has been rebuilt brick by brick, though certain topics remain unspoken territories we've agreed never to revisit. Lily, now 9, exhibits a maturity far beyond her years. Her teachers praise her empathy and creativity, qualities forged in the crucible of our ordeal. Yet beneath her bright exterior lies a watchfulness that breaks my heart. She notices everything, questions everyone, and maintains a personal inventory of identifying traits for those she loves. We've learned to appreciate these quirks as signs of strength rather than damage. Though late-night conversations with her about what really happened remind us that some wounds run deeper than others. Our new life demands constant vigilance. The security measures we implemented after the incident have become second nature. Encrypted communication channels, biometric verification systems, and regular identity confirmation protocols. These precautions might seem excessive to outsiders, but they represent our hard-won peace of mind. We've formed a support network with others who've experienced similar phenomena, creating a community bound by shared understanding rather than geographic proximity. Professionally, I've redirected my skills toward developing technology that detects and disrupts duplicate manifestations. The company I founded has grown beyond my initial expectations, attracting attention from government agencies and private organizations alike. This work provides both purpose and protection, allowing me to contribute to preventing others from experiencing what we endured. Rachel serves as our chief counselor, helping families navigate the psychological aftermath of encounters with these entities. The broader implications of our experience continue to unfold. Through our research and advocacy, we've discovered patterns suggesting these events occur more frequently than previously believed, often dismissed as mental health issues or domestic disputes. Our public awareness campaigns have sparked crucial conversations about identity verification and psychological resilience, though we maintain strict anonymity to protect our new lives. Closure remains an elusive concept. While we've achieved a measure of peace, certain questions persist. Why was our family targeted? What made Lily special? Could we have prevented Rachel's initial involvement? These uncertainties fuel both our ongoing research and our determination to help others facing similar threats. We've learned to accept that some mysteries may never be solved, focusing instead on building a future where such experiences become preventable rather than inevitable. In many ways, we're still rebuilding, not just our lives, but our understanding of reality itself. The knowledge that our world contains threats beyond human comprehension has fundamentally altered our perspective. Yet this awareness has also deepened our appreciation for genuine human connection, for moments of authentic joy and love that cannot be replicated or manufactured. We've emerged stronger, wiser, and more united, carrying our scars not as burdens, but as testaments to our survival and growth.